listening to Lead to Greatness. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode number 7 of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential, and together we can change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have a special guest in the house, Gallegos. I want to say a big thank you to those of you who share across your social media platforms. If this is your first time joining the Lead to Greatness community, I want to invite you to subscribe wherever you are listening and watching. I want you to be looking out for valuable content every Thursday of the month. If this content is helpful to you, please write a review and rate it to help get the word out. Man, that would mean a lot to me. Join me today, my special guest, my brother Jay. What's up, man? How's everything going on your end?
Well, a lot of things look different for sure, just like everybody else is adapting and moving and changing. And I think, coming home from work, I saw so many, it was good to see. I had never seen so many kids back out on their bikes in the middle of the street. It was good to see. And I've never seen so many families, ride together. The other day I was driving down a neighborhood street, and there was like groups of families just kind of spread out through parking lots.
Right.
That businesses that are closed, they used to be packed with people inside the store, now are packed in different areas of the parking lot where they're riding around bikes, and spending family time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. There's so many different ways that you can cut this and analyze all the change that's been going on. But the family portion is so important, because if you think about it, we were separated for, you can have a wholesome family, you have your normal issues, your daily struggles,
Right.
But we're so disconnected at the same time because of either your phone, your worries from work, maybe you bring home work, for so many different reasons. As a family, you could have been disconnected, but now, like, people are trying to find things to do outside because they spent so much time indoors recently.
Right.
And that's something that we're not used to. When was the last time you sat down as a family and really had a family dinner? Everything's on the go. Pick up dinner on the go, fast food, because we got things to do, and we sometimes you just slow down, and I don't know if it's a way that God wants everyone to just hit the pause button, slow down, and say, hey, look, let's get back to the roots. Let's get back to the beginning. Yeah. And it's just good to see some of the basics. That's my only point, you get to see some of the basic, back to spending family time, and more attention with the kids and the wife, and people just communicating in a different way. And I think it just expands your mind in so many different ways.
Yeah. I think this thing, man, it's going to do two things. It's going to, on a positive note, I don't even want to talk about the deal with the negative side of it, because there is some negative sides of this corona, even with people, being in their house. But on a positive note, man, what's so awesome about it, man, you have people that's been so busy. And the reason why they stay busy, because the truth of the matter is they don't want to be alone. And a lot of people are busy because they don't want to deal with the reality of where they are. It's like, okay, if I can be busy and go partying, I don't have to deal with my issues. If I can go drinking, I don't have to deal with my issues. If I can go to the club, I don't have to deal with my issues. Even if I can go to school, I don't have to deal with my issues. Because everybody have a coping mechanism some type of way. I mean, some people's coping mechanism is alcohol. Some people coping mechanisms is drugs. I mean, some people coping mechanism is church. Oh, I got to go to church to get my fix. And I think sometimes the devil is laughing at it, man, because we go to church to feel good, but we're not changing. And man, I think, man, I believe in this season, God is slowing us down, and we're put in a position we don't have a choice. You got to deal with yourself. You got to deal with your reality. If your relationship with your children is messed up, you got to deal with it right now, because you can't run. Where you gonna go? You can't run nowhere. So you have to deal with the relationship. You can't run. You can't even run to church. It's like, man, I can't go to the altar. I have to pray for myself. I have to pray for my own kids. I can't wait for Sunday for pastor to pray for them. I got to pray for myself. So man, I think it's really a blessing. It's really been a blessing to people. I see the beauty in the ashes. I'm telling you.
That's good. That's so good. Our hearts, our prayers definitely go to the families that have been affected by it. They lost a loved one.
Yeah.
They've been severely affected by it and recovering
Right.
through it. So that for sure is in our prayers, in our mind and in our heart, and it goes out to them. What do you do when you run, when you're having, the social or family issues and you have nowhere to run? Now you have to fend for yourself. Now you have to pray for yourself. You have to pray for each other, and you have, like you said, you don't have anybody to come and pray for you, but now you have to really really grow.
Yeah.
So I think in a way, that is an environment like primed for growth,
Yeah.
not only mentally, but also spiritually, emotionally, because now you're being forced to face certain things that you're running from.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
that is so key for a prime growth.
Yeah.
And when a lot of times, in looking back in so many different areas of my life and struggles that I've been through, either in my marriage, personal spiritual struggles, or even in work, something very practical. It wasn't until I was forced into an environment that was uncomfortable that forced me into a growth. I didn't like it. I disliked it a lot. It was extremely uncomfortable,
Yeah.
out of elements completely. But then whenever I went through it and I look back, if it had not been for those things, the most uncomfortable positions and the most uncomfortable scenarios or situations that happened to me that I was in, if it had been for those environments, I would not know the things I know now.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I think is I think a few years from now, you're going to see a huge difference, and you're going to be able to look back and say, like, man, if it had not been for that,
Yeah.
like, our world would be not this. I don't know what that may be.
Yeah.
We don't know what God's plans are going forward, but it's going through a shakeup. And I know that whenever we shake things up and you go through a shift, then there's something bound to happen. There's change happening. There's growth happening. There's different ideas and different in every area. It can be church, business, relationships,
Right.
something new. And in general, I guess if you want to put it in a nutshell, one word to describe it would be new. It's
Mm.
change. It's new to everyone. Something that we don't know. And this new is going to propel us into, I guess, the next level, if you want to put it like that. That's one of the exciting point of views through all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's awesome. I mean, you said something, and man, let's be real about it. I mean, we as people, man, we are creatures of habit. We we
Absolutely.
we like to be in the comfort zone. And man, we every last one of us is put in position where we have to get outside of our comfort zone. You said something about growth. I mean, it's like the human body. Man, you worked out. I mean, I don't know if you're still working out. I need to get back to working out, but
I need to
but
get
this is
back for sure.
all right. So both of us need to get back to working out. But this is the thing: we were working out. In order for those muscles to grow, I had to put it through some stress. I had to put it through some
Mm.
uncomfort. So, I mean, even like you say, even on the job, I mean, you put in uncomfortable situations, but those uncomfortable situations make you better. Man, even me as the pastor, man, I've been put in so many uncomfortable situations. I remember, man, I've been pastoring now for 8 years. I remember the first 2, 3 years of pastoring, man, man, my growth then 5 years ago versus now, it's no way I could the physical growth of our church. My church have grown. I mean,
Mm.
we're looking at another building, and well, prior to COVID-19, man, seeking out land and building, man, because the church is growing. But the church grew because I grew. And I grew based on, man, I was put in some uncomfortable situation from day one. Man, I
Mm.
preached my first sermon in January 2011. In January 2012, man, I'm pastoring the church 1 year. 1 year, man, I
Wow.
went from preaching my first sermon to pastoring the church. Man, talking about uncomfortable. My whole pastoral career been uncomfortable. Matter of fact,
Mm.
I'm still uncomfortable, man. We're talking about looking at another building, and we're talking about looking at land. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I'm learning too. But man, I'm learning.
Mm.
But man, I look over, man, things I was learning 2 years ago. I remember, because 2 years ago is when the church really just took off and started growing. I'm talking entrepreneurs. I'm talking business owners, man. man, managers and supervisors of companies, man. I'm talking real leaders. You know, I mean, they join in the ministry. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. In the beginning, it felt kind of intimidating. They seen something in me that I didn't even see in myself. Man, I'm put in predicaments right now where I feel a heavy burden. Man, I'm going into a season now that man, we about to, we about to go full force with hiring staff. I mean, that's a
Mm,
whole different ball game, a whole different ball game, whole different burden hiring staff, because here it is, man. These people have families, they have children. So, man, now the decisions I make as a leader, the responsibility of the decisions I make, people livelihoods are in stake. It's not just me as a husband or me as a dad making the decision and my family suffer. Man, if I make a bad decision as a leader, man, the whole ministry suffer. People lives at stake, man. People can get laid off and lose and lose money and lose their homes and lose their cars. So, man, that's a totally different burden. And man, I'm telling you, in the very beginning, man, that burden was like, wow. It's like, man, I don't know. I mean, it's, we talking about being uncomfortable. Man, they put you in an uncomfortable situation, but man, I accept it. And I say, you know what, Cedric, you can do this. You can do this. And you know what, man, I'm moving forward, and now I see a different perspective of it. No longer looking at myself, because it's easy to that's what causes fear anyway. When we look at
right.
ourselves, we start pointing fingers at ourselves like, oh man, you can't do this. But man, when you stop looking at yourself and start looking at people. I remember the first beginning, man, I would never, even what we're doing right now on this video talking, man, I remember the first time we did a video, man, I was sweating, man, we had to turn the AC down to 60. I mean, I'm talking, I was nervous because that was my first time doing it, because deep in my head, man, I was so worried about what people was gonna think. But then I realized, I'm like, man, I have a message. I have a
Mm.
message that people need to hear this. I had to put myself, personal feelings to the side, and think about what's best for others receiving, others getting the word, people being helped. Even in this time, man, we got a crisis going on right now. It's like, man, even what we're doing right now, it's like, man, people need to hear this. People need to be encouraged.
See, I think
Sir.
that's the key point that you said right there, and that going back to everything that you just mentioned, the learning part,
Yeah,
to recognize the time to learn.
man.
And I think now with so many things going on right now, like you said, we're not used to being at home so much. We're not
Yeah,
used to some of the scenarios, the uncomfortable things. We're not used to
yeah,
those things right now. If things were going smooth with work, things were going smooth with business,
yeah,
money was in bank account, food was on the table, we were good. So now we're on uncomfortable situations, but
yeah.
now we're learning something different, we're learning something new,
Right.
and we're learning things that maybe learning, going back to the basics.
Hmm.
We forget some of the basics,
Yeah,
and I think that's very, very key, because whenever you recognize when it's time to learn, it's not only humbling, it primes your mind to grow and to expand, because you're being forced into things that you're uncomfortable with.
right.
But when you recognize that it's time to learn and it's time to observe, your surroundings and slow down, there's so much to take away. But you're learning as you go.
Yeah,
We all know that when you stop learning, you stop growing. But when you recognize that it's time to learn, you're learning to adjust and you're learning to adapt to the environment.
right.
And as you step, it's like a baby walking. When he's taking his first steps, you're going into uncharted territories, you're going into uncharted waters, like the exact same way that you were when you started pastoring.
Right.
Maybe you had to use your instincts, you had to use your senses, you had to recognize the points where you're learning and the environment you're in. So that assurance that God is with you
Yeah.
through those uncertain times, just like now, we're learning, we're adapting, we're adjusting, we're moving. But you just know, it's a feeling that you have where God is with you and you're moving along, and
Yes.
you just know that God is with you as you go into the rest of the uncertain. So if we sit here and talk about all the uncomfortable environments, scenarios, and positions, and
Yeah.
uncomfortable experiences that we've had, it can really, really motivate somebody. But not only that, but we're taking that shaken and sifting environment, and now we're coming back to our brothers, and we're motivating, encouraging, inspiring, and uplifting somebody. Because I went through it, I
Yeah.
know you can make it. I made it through this, I know you can make it.
Wow. Man, that's good, man. Think about this. Let's say, for instance, COVID-19 would have never happened. COVID-19 would never happen. You'd have been busy with what you're doing in the ministry. I've been busy with what I'm doing in the ministry. And man, this right here that's taking place right now probably would have never happened.
Mm.
And oftentimes you and me both, we're preaching, we're ministering, but we're ministering inside these four walls. And
Yes.
now, man, this opportunity right now, man, to minister to the world outside a building. I'm like, man, this is so beautiful, man. I see so
Yeah.
much beauty in this, man. I'm like, man, this is church. Here it is. You the church, I'm the church, and you have two churches came together and we having church.
And the lights are on.
Man,
The lights are still.
the lights are on. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
So tell me about Lead to Greatness, and how did this come about, and what are you doing with this?
Man, lead to greatness. The lead to greatness is helping others reach their greatest potential, and together we can change the world. Man, lead to greatness really started. I last year, man, I started working with HISD school district. Man, doing mentoring a lot of our youth in the downtown area, and man, it was just such a blessing, man. Mentoring the youth and giving back because I have a story, man. People looking at me now, and I'm a pastor now, but man, I wasn't always a pastor. Man, I have history. I mean, I was prison bound. I was cemetery bound, man. I mean, I
Mm.
was. Man, my life was so, man, I was doing everything. I thought I was big enough and bad enough. I grew up in the hood, man. And very seldom, man, I remember positive influence, professionals coming into the neighborhood talking to us. So, man, my parents didn't have a vehicle. So what happened in the hood, that's all I knew, man. That was my environment. I remember when the movie Pleasantville came out. Man, I was like,
Mm.
man, this ain't, I mean, this was so far from truth, man. That was like a cartoon to me. I mean, I was like, nah, man, because I was used to gunshots at night, uh, police cars, helicopters coming across through the neighborhood, man. I mean, that's what I was used to. And man, so I never had that positive influence. So my environment, that's all I knew. All I knew was my environment. And man, I never had anybody come into the neighborhood to help, to shape my mind and say, man, Cedric, man, you can do something better than what you're doing. And man, I was fortunate enough, man. I left and joined the military, man, with a clean record. Joined the military, all the stuff I did, man. I thank God that, man, I left joining the military with a clean record. But man, I have a lot of buddies that didn't, that they don't have the same testimony I have. Man, I have
Mm.
buddies, man, been shot. I have buddies been killed. I have buddies that's in prison. I have buddies that's out of prison. I have buddies that's strung out on drugs. Man, we hung out. We did the same thing. And the truth of the matter is, man, we were all good kids. We were all good kids, but we was misguided. So my thing would lead to greatness. I said, man, you know what? I said, man, my focus is really going after the youth. I'm like, man, because they all they see is the environment they're around, but if they have somebody on the outside that been there that can relate to them, that can connect with them and say, man, you know what? I've been here before. I know how you're feeling. I know how you're thinking. I know you're angry, especially our young men. Man, I know you're angry. I know you're upset. I know you're looking at gains and drugs and drug dealing, and you see that quick dollar because you see the jewelry, the cars, the women, and all this stuff. And you think that's good, but I'm like, man, it's a whole nother life if you get caught. It's like, man, you don't want that life. You're putting your family in danger. And these are the type of things I share with the kids at the school. And I was like, man, it's so good just going back and just just going after our youth, man. Basically help them reach their greatest potential, man. Because man,
Mm.
so that's why I'm starting. I'm starting with the youth and really families in general, man. My wife and I, we have things planned for us, marriages. I've been married 21 years. I mean, it's lead to greatness is, man, it's lead to greatness is about marriage. It's about relationships. It's about finance, man. You and I talked about the debt thing. I remember at 26 years old, man, I was in debt, man. I was living paycheck to paycheck. But now I'm in a position financially. Now my
Financially
greatest potential.
flexible.
Yes, man, that's awesome. Yes, I love it. Financial flexible. And all these different things, man. My wife and I, we learned, man. We've read, man. I've read hundreds of books, man. I've read the Bible. I read the Bible over 10 times. I mean, I've read hundreds of leadership, well, between leadership, business, finance. Man, I've read all kind of books, man. And man, these things, I have all this stuff in my head, man. I just want to share with the world what I've learned, man, because I'm telling you, man, I'm in a place right now, man. I'm already successful, man. My joy, man, my spirit, my emotion, man. I'm successful because you got
Mm.
millionaires killing themselves, man. So I no longer say money leads you to success because man, you got people who got millions and their family is falling apart, man. Kids on drugs and in and out of rehab. So I mean, that's not success to me, man. But I'm living a successful life right now, man. I'm like, man, others can. I want everybody to experience what I'm experiencing, man. So I
Absolutely.
mean, that's what Lead to Greatness is all about, man. We just want to help people, be a blessing to people, man, and hopefully, man, turn souls over to Jesus, man, because ultimately, what does it profit a man to gain the whole wide world and lose his soul? So I
Mm.
mean, definitely Jesus is the base of everything we're doing. But I mean, I just want to help people reach their greatest potential. That's
Man,
all.
I love what you're doing. I love the idea. I'm excited for you. I'm
Thank you,
excited
man.
for you to do so much left in the tank, and I know that a new door is just gonna open on the other side.
Whew, man, thank you, man. I'm telling you, I'm full, man. I'm ready, man. I just want to be a blessing to people, man. I'm telling you, man. People is what I care about. People is who I care about, man. Man, the mentoring thing, man. Whatever I have to do, man. I just want to help people. So I think, man, a bigger platform later on, have different things I want to work on. Matter of fact, what we're doing right now is Zoom, but doing a Zoom with a big, group of people, man,
A
doing
group.
teaching. And man, I don't know, man. Just man, I'm really, man. You and I, man. We, like I said, man, we've been talking on Tuesdays, man. I want us to do more of this, man. Do more of
That'll
this,
work.
and definitely in the future, man. A lot more. I think in store for you and me both, man. Just relaying the message of what God has given us, man, and sharing it with the world. Man, souls getting saved for Christ. Man, lives are changing, man. People are living their best lives ever, people living happier lives and not trying to kill each other but really loving each other, man. That's what I want, man. I In the beginning, man, God created heaven and earth. He created man and he put him in this place called Eden, this place of paradise. And man, what life has become, man, we're so far away from paradise. I'm like, man, we got to get back. We
Mm.
got to get back, man. And Jesus said, man, he said, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. And I'm like, man, the kingdom is here, man. We just got to tap into it, man. So I just want to share that, man. Share my story with people, man, and man, hopefully be a blessing to families, man. And my wife and I have been married. It'll be 22 years, August 31st, man. And I'm telling you, man, no exaggeration, man. We have a happy marriage, man. We love each other, man. Man, we spend a lot more time together, and we're actually happy about it, man. It's not like we can't stand to see each other, man. I mean, she's probably downstairs right now waiting on me. I mean, man, we just just love it, man. Just love it.
If someone wanted to connect with you, how would they do that?
You can reach out to on Twitter. I'm very active on Instagram um, at J Gallegos _IN2. And also on Facebook, you can find me as JJ Gallegos, and you can connect with us there. You can also, take a look at the website. Uh, you can write comments. You can follow it. You can share it. Inspired.org, and go take a look, take a browse, and you can connect with me on those social platforms.
On behalf of the Lead to Greatness family, I would like to thank you so much for taking out your time of your busy schedule and adding value to us. Again, thank you all for joining the Lead to Greatness family on today. Thank you for joining the show on today. I'm looking forward to seeing you again on next Thursday for another episode of Lead to Greatness. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world.